Mr. Mayor, I am a resident of 44 Nicholson, which, as you know, is right behind Reliance.
Your name?
Rain Singh. I was here at the info session. I was at the info session way back in August or September 2013. I asked a question about safety, and for some reason I was told that was an inappropriate question. And today I'm still asking about safety in terms of my health and for my child. In the last couple of years, I've not spent time in my backyard, especially last summer when I was pregnant. And this summer, I have currently a 6-month-old that I want to build a play yard in the backyard and let her spend time in, that I'm afraid to. I have not used any of our drinking water for her. I've bought bottled water for her because you say that we are safe, Mr. Mayor, but we haven't seen the proof. I understood that you guys were going to be very transparent with us, that we were going to get documentation of what is happening, timelines, that the documentation was going to be on the website, but I see some of the documentation is only in English or only in French, and it's not in both languages, which was promised. And it doesn't disclose everything that we requested, including testing. We were told that we can get our soil tested, and we were given a number, which my husband and I had called, and we were sent to the province, who sent us back to the city. So I tried calling the federal government, who sent us back to the provincial. Nothing was done. Mr. Mayor, I'm paying tax dollars to you. I'm expecting that you are testing our soil, not just the property of Reliance, but ours, to make us ensure that we feel safe to be in our homes. Are you going to do that?
Thank you very much for your question. First of all, Pointe-Claire did not test the soil anywhere. We do not test the soil at Reliance. We do not test the soil at the neighbors of Reliance or on private property. I can tell you that I am not an expert. I cannot tell you that the soil is contaminated to the point where it's dangerous for your children or anybody's children living near Reliance. I can tell you that I had 3 grandchildren living within 400 meters of Reliance. Probably you're a little bit further than 400 meters, if I'm not mistaken. Nicholson is behind Radisson, right? Anyway, my grandchildren lived right near where you reside, and we didn't check the soil on their property. They moved now, but the responsibility of checking the soil is the responsibility of the Minister of the Environment, not the City of Pointe-Claire. It's private property, and it's being worked out now to have the soil tested eventually.
How long do we have to wait for that testing?
That is a question that you should be addressing to a higher level than the City of Pointe-Claire, the Minister of Environment. They will be the one issuing the orders to have that property decontaminated, first of all, and for neighboring properties to have them tested.
Okay, but Mr. Mayor, you are representing me as the resident of Pointe-Claire. Shouldn't that be going through you?
Yes, we've asked the responsible people to do the testing of the soil, and it will be done. But there are legal processes that have to be carried out, and this is not up to the City of Pointe-Claire.
Okay, so why
the people that own the property have been asked to present a plan when they will decontaminate and do the necessary testing to the neighboring properties.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, how long do we have to wait for this plan? Because it's been 3 years and we've been waiting. And if you've known since 2002 and didn't do anything until 2013, how do I know that there is actually a plan?
Well, as I said, you should address that question to the provincial representative, to the Minister of the Environment, or you could go to your local, maybe to Mr. Jeff Kelly. He is the representative here, and he would gladly give you some information.
So in other words, the city is not doing anything about this?
The city is working on this problem continuously, and we have been since 1985. And as soon as we discovered that there were PCBs on the site, we made all the arrangements to have them removed, and they have all been removed. when the PCBs were on the site and when it was declared a dangerous site, there were guards inside the building, and there were also guards on the perimeter of the building to make sure that no one could access it. The danger with PCBs is when there is an intense heat and causes a fire. It's not the decontaminated soil that is going to cause a problem. As far as the water, ma'am, that you were talking about, that comes to you, it comes from Lac Saint Louis, and it serves many municipalities, and it's tested on a regular basis.
Well, you say that the only issue would be is if there was a fire, which I understand from some of the documentation. That building is abandoned. How do we know that somebody's not going to do something ridiculous, like kids playing around, like the building that happened downtown?
Okay. What I said was there is a danger when there are PCBs in the building. Now, the PCBs have all been removed. The PCBs on the property that were visible, like the liquids in the backyard, have all been removed, put in containers, sent out to Alberta, and have been destroyed. This was done by the Minister of Environment. As soon as all the dangerous materials on that site were removed, the Environment Department removed the guards inside the building, and they removed the guards on the perimeter. There was no longer a danger, and that's the situation now. There is no longer a danger on that site.
Including the ground floor where there was leaks.
If somebody were to go on the property, and start eating the soil, and for a long period of time, it could possibly cause them a little problem, but there is no danger on the site. And if you wish, when the meeting is over, if you give your name to the clerk, we will get in touch with you tomorrow, and we will give you the phone number of the person in charge at the health department, and you can get the information directly from them if you wish.
I would appreciate that.
There's no problem. Just ask when you leave your name and your phone number, and we'll get you the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
I'm actually a resident of Lachine.
No, excuse me. We would like to speak to the residents.
I am a resident. I feel like I'm a resident of Pointe-Claire. My daughter-in-law and my son.
Excuse me, sir. One moment. Where do you reside?
You know, there are days when I'm babysitting with my wife on Ivanhoe Crescent
Sir,
and Nicholson.
just let me say 2 words.
Okay.
We are going to listen, as I mentioned earlier, we will listen to the residents of Pointe-Claire, and afterwards you will have an opportunity as a non-resident to speak on whatever subject you wish.
Please, because it's a very important topic, PCBs,
yeah.
and she's done her best job to express her opinion. But I think there's a lot of people who are very concerned.
Okay.
I have a granddaughter.
Excuse me,
of 6 months old.
You'll be able to bring your questions when we're through with the residents. Thank you.
As long as you promise me you will speak to me.
Excuse me, sir, I don't have to promise you. We allow non-residents to speak at council meetings every time we have a council meeting. And people that have come here on a regular basis will attest to that.
I've never been here before.
Okay, well,
then
you can take my word for it. You'll be allowed to speak. Thank you. Please proceed.
Get this point across.
Any other residents wishing to address council?
Hi, could you
Your name, sir?
My name is Michael Pasternak, Circle Avenue. Mr. Mayor or someone else on the council, could you explain to us what is the state of the communications and the contacts that you have with the provincial government at this moment to help regulate this situation? As the previous speakers have said, it's been going on for a few years now. I'd just like to know what is happening currently.
What is happening currently is that the government has issued an ordinance to the owners of the property to come up with a plan to clean up the property, to have it decontaminated. There is a time limit, and I believe it's the end of May. They have until the end of May to come up with their plan. If they do not come up with their plan, Mr. Pasternak, to clean up the property, decontaminate it, and also decontaminate the neighboring properties if they are proven to be contaminated, then the ministry, the Department of Environment, they will proceed to do the decontamination, and they will charge they will bill the people responsible, not the city of Pointe-Claire.
So May 1st is the deadline?
No, the end of May probably. It's the end of May.
Second of June.
The end of May.
Second of June.
And then they have the authority to go in there and clean it up and charge the people that own the property. And in the meantime, we're in touch with the Department of the Health and also the Ministry, the Department of the Environment. And the Health Department assures us that it is not a danger to public health and safety. So that's all we can tell you. It's the information that we've received. They've posted it on their website, and we are satisfied with what they are telling us. I cannot say differently, and I don't think that there's anyone here that can say differently, unless they're specialists. We have the people at the health department telling us there's no problem. With the contaminated soils, they will not cause a problem. When there were PCBs there, yes, that would have been a major problem, and that's why there were guards inside and guards outside, and this council had a lot to do with those decisions, and we almost demanded that there be people around that site and inside, because we did not want to have a catastrophe in Pointe-Claire. Thankfully, nothing happened. Mr. Edmieri?
Just a comment to stress the importance that this council put on this issue, that we held a council meeting, or the whole council, at midnight on the site when the danger was very, very high. And after that, all the PCBs were removed.
That's right, Mr. Emery. Thank you very much. That was another council. We've changed since then. There's a few new ones here. Anyone else? Any other residents wishing to ask questions on the PCBs? Any non-residents wishing to ask questions on anything other than PCBs? I believe there are none, sir, so you can keep coming forward. Okay, we'll speak to the non-residents regarding PCBs.
Thank you.
Your name, sir, to start with.
Robert Lawand. I'm a chartered accountant trying to do tax returns this time of year, but I felt it was quite important that I come and talk my feelings. I'm not an expert in any way in this field of environment and all these, like none of you are, but you are responsible to the city of Pointe-Claire and your residents. Like I said, I have my daughter-in-law and my son who live on Nicholson. I have my daughter, her 3 children, and her husband who live on Ivanhoe Crescent, Croissant, Ivanhoe. So I think they're close also. Now, apparently there was something by the Journal de Montréal where they found a study, and it's like 400 pages. I didn't have time to read it. I only got a hold of it yesterday. And they do mention that is contamination existant. What does that mean?
Okay, what they mean is the soil is contaminated on the site of 86 Hymas. Different areas of the site are contaminated to different levels. That's what that means. But because the soil is contaminated, that does not mean that there is a danger to the health and safety of the people residing nearby or the people working nearby. You mentioned your daughter or your son resides on Ivanhoe. I live on Glenbrook, which is the next street. I've lived there for 40 some odd years. And we have been assured by the health representatives on the island of Montreal that there is no danger there. And was it your daughter that was up speaking before?
That was my daughter-in-law.
Well, your daughter-in-law. Well, we're going to give her the phone number of the person responsible, and I can understand that. She'll be able to call her, talk to her, ask her all the questions, and she will be able to get the answers. And she will be talking to somebody who knows a little bit about what's happening there and of the dangers and the consequences and all that.
So you know nothing?
I don't say I don't know. I know what I am told.
I mean, you basically said this evening that you're proud to say that there's no, what was you said at the beginning?
We have been informed by the health department responsible for the island of Montreal that there are no health issues or dangers on that property. The only dangers that there were is when there were PCBs stored there. And there were PCBs on the property. That's when it was danger. There was danger. It was dangerous. Had there been a fire and an intense fire at that time, then it could have been dangerous.
Is it true that...
Right now, there are no PCBs on the site.
Is it true that you have a $20 million bill to remove 500 truckloads of contaminated soil? Are you aware of that? I read that in that article. Why did I find that? And you have not announced that to your
Are you saying that we, the city of Pointe-Claire, have received a $20 million bill?
No. Are you aware that somebody has to pay for this bill? Reliance is no longer existent. They ran away, so somebody has to do it.
Okay. I think I mentioned earlier that the site is the responsibility of the environment department, and they will be responsible to remove. They will be one moment, please. One moment. They will be responsible to remove the contaminated soil at their cost if it is not done by the owner of the property.
C'est pas ça qu'ils ont dit à ma belle-fille. Ils ont dit à elle.
Monsieur, un instant, s'il vous plaît. Un instant. Là, vous dites, c'est pas ça qu'ils ont dit à ma belle-fille. Moi, je ne sais même pas de qui ce que vous parlez. C'est qui ça qui?
Elle a déjà essayé de téléphoner les autorités de gouvernement du Québec parce que vous autres, vous avez dit, c'est pas vous autres.
Okay.
C'est la ville, c'est le gouvernement, environnement.
What I suggest, and I've suggested it to your daughter-in-law, it was to see the clerk at the end of the session or whenever she decides to leave, and we will give her the phone number, who to phone, who's responsible for the health and safety of the people there.
May I make a final suggestion, if I may?
You may make one suggestion, please, and then we'll carry on.
Could you not think of maybe next meeting or in a couple of meetings, the person who's giving you this report and saying there's no contamination, invite him to let that person stand in front of the people here and say there's no contamination. I swear to God, there's no contamination. You know,
no, that person will not come here and say there is no contamination. There is contaminated soil there.
Okay.
We know that. We know that, and
We don't want this to be.
Excuse me. We have not denied it. We know that.
So
we know,
sir,
excuse me. We know that the land is contaminated, and we know that it has to be decontaminated. And it will be at the expense of the owner of the property or the provincial government, and they will look at doing the decontamination in due course. But right now, it will not be done, it will be at least until this ordinance has expired. Thank you very much.
Let's hope it doesn't become a Flint, Michigan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to address council?
Yes, John Simon from Lachine. Mr. Mayor, first of all, I'd like to say that was a beautiful anecdote that you recounted about the 1985 protest against the PCBs. That was, I believe you said, by Mayor Knox at the time?
Yes.
Okay, that's a beautiful anecdote, but I'm just a little confused. When did council first become aware of the PCB storage on Hymas?
This council first became aware of PCB storage on Hymas Boulevard in August of 2013. And I might add, illegal PCB storage.
Okay, but the previous council of Mayor Knox knew about it in 1985?
They didn't know that there were PCBs. They were opposing the storage of PCBs there.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
I think you answered that question. I had a second question, sir.
Yes, sir.
I believe some people, some activists, put up signs recently on the Reliance property, former Reliance property, saying keep out or danger or something like that, and these signs were removed.
They were removed, yes.
They were removed by the city of Pointe-Claire?
No, I didn't say that. You said to me they were removed. I said, yes, they were removed.
Do you know? Do you know who removed them?
I do not know who removed them.
Okay.
If it had been my property, maybe I would have removed them, but it was not my property.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
My name is Alex Tyrrell, I'm the leader of the Green Party of Quebec. I find it really unfortunate the way that you guys are speaking to the residents here, because you people cannot be trusted with your word. When we were here in the month of February, you, Maurice Trudeau, told us that by March 11th we would have a plan for the decontamination. You said that that's when the ordonnance was supposed to expire. The date passed, there was no update put out, there were no signs put up at the site, and now you're saying that the deadline for the ordonnance is in June.
That's right.
Did you forget to leave out the part about the administrative tribunal?
The signs were, not the signs, excuse me. The date is the beginning of June, June 1st, I
The
believe.
30 days you're talking about has already expired. There's an article in the Gazette that came out that said that the company is contesting the ministerial order in the administrative tribunal. Why is this lacking from your communications?
Monsieur Ouimis, can you answer that question?
Indépendamment du fait que la contestation devant le tribunal administratif, l'ordonnance demeure applicable et la compagnie doit quand même présenter son plan à l'échéance que le ministère lui a accordée. Et le ministère lui a accordé une nouvelle échéance jusqu'au 2 juin.
Pourquoi une nouvelle échéance?
On va poser la question au ministère, mais c'est eux qui ont choisi de leur donner cette échéance.
Je pose la question à la ville. Vous
C'est
semblez...
bon, mais moi, je vais vous répondre au nom de la ville. Posez votre question au ministre de l'Environnement. C'est pas nous
Mais non, mais c'est vous.
C'est pas nous qui avons émis l'ordonnance. Posez, un instant,
Pourquoi
monsieur.
vous nous donnez des dates quand vous ne les respectez pas?
C'est pas à nous à les respecter. Les dates qu'on a eues du gouvernement de Québec, du département de l'Environnement, que la date est le 30 ou le 1er juin. Juin. Et au 1er juin, on s'attend que le gouvernement va avancer à une autre étape.
Mais pourquoi on devrait vous croire? C'est ce que vous nous avez
Mais vous n'êtes pas obligé de, Monsieur Tyrrell, vous n'êtes pas obligé de me croire. Mais moi, je vous dis les informations qu'on a. Est-ce que vous avez demandé vos questions au ministre de l'Environnement? Oui. Bon, quelle réponse qu'ils vous ont donnée?
Ils n'ont pas répondu.
Bon. Mais ça, c'est pas nous, là. Avez-vous une autre question?
Why did you tell the residents this evening that all of the PCBs have been removed from the site? That's false.
I told the residents that the PCBs have been removed from the site, the PCBs that were inside the building and the PCBs that were in a liquid form on the property. I have also told the residents of Pointe-Claire, and I will continue to tell them that the land is contaminated.
There are PCBs on the site.
The land is contaminated.
Exactly.
But there is no danger to the health and security of the residents.
Well, that's
or
something
the
that's
persons.
been
Excuse me. Or the persons working nearby. That's what I told the people.
On the 15th of March, the Director of Public Health put out a statement saying that there was not an important risk to the health of local residents. After that, you had some kind of a meeting with the Director of Public Health. They put out a new statement saying there's no risk.
I invite you to look at the communiqué de presse they put out on the effective on the 1st of April on their
I
site.
did, and I contested many claims that were made in that letter.
Well, then
You have a copy of the contestation that I sent. Did you read it?
I can tell you that the document they put out on their communiqué de presse saying that there is no danger to the health of the citizens of Pointe-Claire residing nearby or anybody working nearby, and we have read it and we are satisfied with it.
And what exactly changed in this respect between the 15th of March and the 1st of April?
Ask the Department of Environment. They put out the
Well, you had a
communiqué.
meeting with them.
We did not put out the communiqué. You ask them. Thank you.
Well, what happened in the meeting?
Do you
Are
have
there
another
any
question?
minutes from this meeting? Are we going to have any more information, or is this a secret?
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I got a question. How much has the city spent on public relations protecting your image, your personal image about this whole crisis?
The city of Pointe-Claire, Mr. Tyrrell, I can tell you, it's been rumored by different organizations that the city has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on communications due to the PCBs. I can tell you, and I can tell the residents of Pointe-Claire, that we have spent approximately $50,000 in terms of communication.
For which period?
In communication. I can also tell you that the city of Pointe-Claire Whenever we have situations and it requires lawyers, we hire extra lawyers. When we have situations where we need architects, we hire architects. When we have situations where we need communications people, we hire communication people on a temporary basis. This we've been doing, it's a practice we've had in Pointe-Claire forever, and we do not hire permanent people because we do not have certain situations at all times. Right now, we happen to have a situation where the residents of Pointe-Claire are concerned about their health and safety due to the site which is located on Hymas Boulevard, where the PCB site. Now, there are some people that are getting more involved now than they were 3 years ago or in 2013 when there was a danger. But I'm pleased to tell the people that there is no danger to their health and safety if they reside right next door to the PCBs or if they work right next door.
So what other work has STM, the public relations firm that the city spent $284,000 on in 2015 and 16 alone, what other work have they done?
You asked me what, you were insinuating we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Excuse me. I told you how
What's
much.
the amount?
I told you it was about $50,000.
Well, what other work has STM?
The city of Pointe-Claire has spent $50,000 on communication regarding the latest outbreak of not the latest, all total PCB situation.
Do you have any documents to back this up?
Excuse me. Now, I will ask you to sit down, please.
Well, I put in access information, so we're going to know. It's only a matter of
okay,
time.
there's
You may as
no
well tell us
problem.
now.
We will give you the information. Thank you very much.
If you're not an expert, why
Thank
do you
you for your comments.
Why do you continue to tell the residents that it's not a problem when you admit yourself that you're not an expert?
Mr. Tyrell, I will say it once more, and I will ask you to sit down after, or leave.
Don't tell me to sit down.
Or leave the council premises. There is no danger to the citizens of Pointe-Claire due to the site on Hymas Boulevard as it is today. I will tell you that there was an immense danger when the PCBs were stored there illegally a few years ago, and they were removed almost immediately. But while they were there, they were under surveillance at all times. We had people there. So I thank you for your questions. Please sit down and allow the mic to someone else.
You know, I'm just going to say this. I don't believe your version of events. I don't believe that you only found out about it in August. You knew about it the whole time. You, sir, were councillor from that district from 1998 to 2013. In that time, those PCBs were stored illegally. The city already knew about it. You already had lawsuits against that company, and you did nothing. You did nothing to protect the residents, and you're still not doing anything.
Okay, now I will answer your question. Please be seated. The mic is for someone else. I will answer the question, but you will not speak anymore. I will ask you to leave after or sit down, one of the two. The site, I was a councillor in the district from 1998 until 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago when I was elected mayor. Prior to that, I lived in the site. I lived in the district, and prior to that, I was a policeman from 1964 until 1998. And
I've never heard about this the whole time.
No, I didn't.
Never.
No, I asked you not to ask anymore, but I did not know there were PCBs stored there. The first time that I found out there were illegal PCBs stored on the site was in August of 2013, and that's when the 4 senior councillors on this council found out about it.
Well, in that case, you've done a terrible job as a councillor and you should resign.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to address council?
Ross Stead, Pierrefont, Roxborough. I was here last month and I was kind of sad to hear that nothing had been done, even though that deadline came and went of the 11th. I'll give you an example. I don't think, if you're putting all your faith in the Ministry of the Environment, Quebec, I think you better be careful, because I'll give you an example from Pierrefont. Beside the new fire station on the end of Pierrefont Boulevard that was built about 2 years ago, I believe, there is a snow dump still there, and there was also kind of a big pile of asphalt that the city workers would dump there when they redid the roads. So one of our members of Los Alarm one day went out there, and I went out there too. And anyways, to make a long story short, we were worried about some of the chemicals getting into the water table, since it's quite close to the Lake of Two Mountains and the Los Alarm River. So we filed a request that the Minister of Environment go out there and check the site, which they did apparently. And we asked if they said everything was okay. So we asked, well, have you taken any soil samples? No. Well, then that poses the question, like, how can you say everything's okay when you have a marshland, basically, with a water table underground?
Okay, sir, could you please ask your question? This is a question period.
No, I understand, but
Okay,
if you
please
just,
ask.
I'm almost finished the story. So, to make a long story short, they went back again a second time, because we made a further request, and then they came and they said everything's all right. So we said, well, again, did you take any soil and water samples? And the answer was so vague, I'm still not sure what they did or didn't do.
Do you have a question for us here tonight?
The city of Pierrefonds took away the dump. They took it away on their own volition because they were getting pressure from the citizens. So my question is, I don't think you should rely on the Ministry of Environment, and I think my question is, if you're paying experts to do a communication job, I think you should fire them and get somebody else, because obviously there's a big lack of communication. So I'd recommend that you people maybe on your own could communicate better than whoever's communicating for you, because I think it's a big problem, and the problem is, again, transparency. So why aren't you more transparent with the citizens, despite the fact that you're spending all this money on a PR company or whatever?
We are being very transparent with the citizens, and we are giving them all the information that we have, and when we receive it, we post it on our website, and the information is available at City Hall for anyone who wishes to have the information. Thank you.
I would hope so.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council?
Hello, my name is Catherine Polson. I'm a resident of Beaconsfield, but you had mentioned before the whole eating of Pointe-Claire dirt, and I've done a lot of that growing up. I played rugby at St. Thomas, and I've spent a lot of time roughhousing in my grandparents' backyard with my sisters and my dog. My grandparents being Ruth and Jerry Ryan. I believe you played hockey with my grandfather, Mr. Trudeau. Knowing that the provincial government can be a little iffy and a little slow on the uptake of things, and the safety of the residents is your primary concern, which I truly believe, what is your, does the city council have a plan in place to hold the provincial government to account when it comes to cleaning this up? Do you guys have a contingency plan for when there are inevitable delays, when whichever government happens to be sitting in Quebec City turns around and says, oh, we don't have the money for this, oh, we're going to need to charge your taxpayers extra for this? Do you have a plan in place to hold the provincial government to account?
We are in contact constantly with the provincial government. They have assured us. Now, let me go back a little bit. I'll go back to when this was first discovered that there were illegal PCBs stored there. There was a provincial government at the time, the Parti Québécois, were in power. And we were dealing with the Parti Québécois, and we had good relations with the Minister of Environment at the time. And since then, there has been an election, and we have a new government in power. People are elected, and we have to assume they are going to do what is right. We, as elected officials in Pointe-Claire, we try to do what is right. We have family living in Pointe-Claire, we have children living in Pointe-Claire, and we want to do the right thing for the people of Pointe-Claire. We're not trying to do something that is wrong and that will be bad for the future generations of Pointe-Claire. We are working with the Minister of Environment, and we are working and hoping that they will do as they have said on many occasions, clean up the site once they've gone through all the legal processes that they're involved in right now.
Sorry, but just as a follow-up, I know that you're hoping and assuming that people are going to do their jobs, but I've noticed it in the private sector myself. People often are bad at doing their jobs. Do we have a contingency plan for this?
When I read my little document here at the beginning, I mentioned that it's our hope that in Pointe-Claire we will not be stuck with a contaminated site for years and years and years, as there are in many areas of the province. We want the site to be decontaminated, and this is part of the reason why we hire special people in communications, because they have the contacts and they know the people that we should be contacting and at what intervals and when and why, and that's why we do that.
So, Mr. Mayor, it's me again, Rain Say from 44 Nicholson. In regards to the communication part, you have the website correct, but it's not properly up to date. There isn't full transparency, and all the documents are either half in English and half in French. So if I want to read one document, it's either only in English or either only in French. So that means I have to sit with my French neighbor to figure out my half with their half.
We will make adjustments. We have our communications people, and they will look at that tomorrow.
Okay, and when we had that meeting, the info meeting, it took you guys a month to even put out the questionnaire. So you're paying people, like they're saying, but they're not being very effective. And in terms of her question about if the provincial government takes time, what are you going to do?
Right now, you would probably I would get a standing ovation if the city of Pointe-Claire, if I were to say something like, well, we'll take $8–10 million of the citizens' money in Pointe-Claire and we will clean up the site. I don't think that's what the citizens of Pointe-Claire want. The site is not dangerous. It's not a hazard to the health and security of the residents and of the people working in Pointe-Claire. We are doing everything possible to have the site cleaned up, and we have the assurance from the Minister of the Health Department, Monsieur Hertel, that the site will be cleaned up. It will be decontaminated.
Mr. Mayor, sir, you mentioned you are not an expert. How can you guarantee that there is no risk?
We have been informed by the people who are experts in that domain, the Department of Health, and we will give you the name and phone number of a person you can call and you can ask them the questions. They are experts.
And they've showed you the tests to show and prove that.
They have assured us that there is no risk to the health or safety of the people residing there. I don't know how many times I can say it.
But are you going to hold the provincial government accountable for the time it takes them to act?
We will be working to get that site decontaminated as soon as possible once all the legal avenues have expired with the owners of the site and the
I would like a timeline, Mr. Mayor.
I cannot give you one. You'd have to ask the Environment Minister's Department for that. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council? Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un d'autre qui veut s'adresser au conseil? Merci. 1001. 1001.
Alors, item 10.01, adopter un règlement créant une réserve financière afférente à certaines activités de l'unité de sauvetage volontaire de Pointe-Claire.
Okay,